Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and when playing in many of the core series games, I think that one of the most fun places to go, and also sadly is no longer staple in these games, are forests and the woods. After all, we're kids when we play this game, and being a 10-year-old, who doesn't love going on little adventures in the forest and the woods? There's a lot of fun things that happen there. But to me, I have to say, one of my favorite things about these areas are all of the bug Pokemon. While the woods and the forests are home to so many other Pokemon, I usually see these areas as more of a bug ground. After all, everywhere you look, you'll always run into a wild battle with bug Pokemon. Also, there's a lot of bug catchers that like to stay in the woods and catch all those bug Pokemon. And if you're one yourself, it's a great idea also to get some bug Pokemon for future battles. While bug Pokemon may have a lot of weaknesses, I will say this. They kind of are a hidden gem because they also have some moves that could be really effective on typings that you just wouldn't realize. Other than calling bug Pokemon a hidden gem, I have to say some bug Pokemon have top-notch designs. I mean, if you really look at bug Pokemon, I feel that that's a typing that never gets held back on. Maybe they don't have the best moves, but whoever makes them really goes all in. After so many new regions introducing so many bug Pokemon, even though some of them can be lazy, I still feel like everyone puts a lot of effort into them. There are so many bug Pokemon that have amazing designs, but to me, the most incredible line I think I've ever raised are none other than Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede. I've always really loved these designs. I think it's just so cool to see how metamorphosis can really change a bug, as we start from a beetle turning into a tire bug, becoming a centipede. It doesn't get any cooler than that. As so many of you know, Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede were all introduced in Generation 5, or the Unova region. And the Unova region has currently introduced the most amount of bug Pokemon than any other region. I'm glad that they were introduced in this region. After all, I think that the Unova region introduced a lot of really good bug Pokemon. While some of them do have a lot of weaknesses, I still think that these were some of the most incredibly designed Pokemon that were introduced for the bug family. Oh, and don't take just my word for it. A lot of other trainers use them for battle, especially the gym leader Berg. I mean, even though he may not have the strongest team, I really see why this guy gets so much inspiration from bug-type Pokemon. This was a line that really helped me out a lot in my Unova games, and I was so happy it returned for the Kalos games that as soon as I caught this thing, it really brought me a bunch of victories. I would probably say that Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede are my favorite bug and poison type line. Oh, and I would also even say that out of all typings, I really think that bug and poison go so well together snugly. Just like with centipedes in the wild, I really do appreciate that this whole line has a rather aggressive nature. Seeing that so many bug Pokemon went down much easier due to fire attacks or even flying type attacks, it's nice that we finally get a bug type line that wants to fight back and say, oh, call us weak, we'll fight you to the bitter end. That was such a good change of pace. And as I said, I'm so happy that the Unova region finally introduced bug Pokemon that really changed up the game. If you really love bug Pokemon, or you're starting to become a bug catcher, I would definitely recommend starting off with this line. While there's so many other bug Pokemon to use, this is probably the most recommended one you could ever get. Well, I think we should talk all about this incredible centipede line and see what makes them such an incredible poisonous force to be reckoned with. And also, maybe we should see why these Pokemon are so aggressive. But before we do that, I want to give a very special thanks and shout out to artist HTTP Koopa for my shirt. Today's shirt is the Poison type jersey, which is worn by Carla in the Pokemon Sword DLC. If you like these jerseys that I wear in my videos, you can buy them on Etsy. I have a link to HTTP Koopa's Etsy shop in the description below. If you think that I look good in these jerseys, I think that you'll look even better. So please check out HTTP Koopa and maybe buy a shirt from him. He doesn't just do Pokemon jerseys, he does a lot of stuff. He does cartoon shirts and he does plenty of other Pokemon shirts. So check him out, maybe buy a shirt from him, and remember to tell him Professor Palm sent you. While I may not be sponsored, I still want to say thank you so much HTTP Koopa for what you've done for this channel. I love your shirts, and I hope that many other traders out there love them too. For those of you out there who really don't like bug Pokemon and are like Misty who want nothing to do with bug type Pokemon, maybe it's best for you to sit this video out. But for those of you out there who love bug Pokemon or are wanting to become bug catchers yourself, I think that we should learn all about this incredible centipede line and what makes them so powerful and aggressive. And we're going to start off with the little centipede itself, Venipede! Oh no, I just touched its poison point. Venipede, the centipede Pokemon, is based on a centipede. However, its appearance draws more inspiration from other arthropods, being the woodlouse, the pillbug, and even the pill millipede. For its habitat, Venipede like to live in the woods and the forests, but most of the time, these Pokemon like to dig underground, where they live in a big colony, and all their nests look very similar to the colony of a Durant. Despite its small size, Venipede is very strong, and it also has a brutally aggressive nature. This Pokemon won't think twice when it attacks, because it enjoys seeing its prey suffer because of its poisons. Venipede will not cease its poison attacks until its enemy or prey lies defeated. If you own a Venipede, or you find one in the wild, beware the teeth of a Venipede, as just one bite injects poison powerful enough to take even the largest of bird Pokemon that prey on it out of the sky. And even just a tiny nibble can be very consequential to you as well. But what's really cool the most about Venipede is its poison is so powerful that even the strongest of pseudo-legendary Pokemon will go down after just a tiny nibble from one of those poisonous teeth. I would also advise you to be very careful about the back of a Venipede. While it has a beautiful shiny magenta coloring, the shine and its coloring come from the poison that seeps through the back of Venipede whenever it's getting ready to fight. When Venipede is nervous or frightened, it oozes poison from its back. While it may not hurt you, I would still advise you not to touch it, as one good whiff of this can make you rather sick and really do some damage to your system. On a really cool note, this ooze also is what gives it its amazing magenta as well as beautiful green coloring. Using the antenna on both its head and on its backside, Venipede pick up vibrations in the air, so they know what's going on around it, and because of that, Venipede are always ready for a battle, especially when the vibrations in their area seem different from the last time. Also, because they're a master of vibrations and know what's going on around them, you can never sneak up on this Pokemon. If Venipede finds prey it thinks it can make a meal out of, Venipede will jump in and go for the attack. It doesn't matter how far it is, Venipede always like to go in and try to make a meal out of anything they can. However, Venipede are not the brightest of bugs, so they never give a second thought to how things may turn out. As the code of Venipede goes, attack first and ask questions later. In the Galar region, when Venipede and Scolipede meet, a huge fight ensues, as these Pokemon hate each other, and they can never get along no matter what. Though, on an interesting note, some studies have shown that Venipede and Scolipede are a similar species, almost distant relatives. Unfortunately, they're relatives that despise each other and want each other dead. Venipede made its anime debut in the Pokemon Black and White series episode of Venipede Stampede, where they swarmed Castelia City and attacked it. Professor Juniper found out that they were disturbed from their nest by a mysterious force in the desert resort and ended up in Castelia City. The mayor of Castelia City was dealing with them in a wrong way, so thankfully, Gym Leader Berg rushed in and told them how to deal with it. In the end, all thanks to Ash Ketchum, Berg, Silent, Trip, and Iris, all the Venipede were rounded up and safely placed in Central Plaza to prevent them from causing any more damage. In the Core Series games, Venipede is the frontrunner of your rival Claris team in the DLC, the Isle of Armor. However, she is a sword-exclusive rival only. If you're looking to battle with small Pokemon competitively, I would highly advise that you do not use Pokemon that are poison type like Ghastly and Venipede. The main reason why is both these Pokemon currently have the lowest HP stat of all poison type Pokemon. Want to hear something kind of ridiculous? Despite everything I said about Venipede having some very poisonous teeth, it cannot learn the move Poison Fang. It cannot learn it through being leveled up, through TM, and it cannot learn it from either breeding, an egg move, or being tutored. For a little poisonous bug, Venipede sure packs a powerful poisonous punch. This is definitely a poisonous bug you don't want to mess with, but it gets even stronger and it becomes even faster. So let's evolve our little Venipede into Whirlipede. Yep, Looking at this, we're dealing with a poisonous tire you'll never outrun. Whirlipede, the Curlipede Pokemon, is based on centipedes and curled up pill millipedes. Mostly, Whirlipede represents roly-poly like arthropods that curl up into a ball when scared and frightened. However, it also resembles a rubber tire. For its habitat, Whirlipede live in forests, and they mainly prefer to live in flat forests. Since these Pokemon roll like tires, they need the flat ground to get from place to place. I guess you could say it's always on a roll. But these Pokemon really like to go places fast, and just like Sonic the Hedgehog, they gotta go fast. At its top speed, Whirlipede can spin just over 60 miles per hour. They can give a really good race to humans. Also, just like us humans, Whirlipede are rather competitive Pokemon. Some of them like to race each other in the wild just to see who's the fastest. Unlike the rest of its line, with both Venipede and Scolipede, Whirlipede is the odd one out because it's rather peaceful and a calm Pokemon. Oftentimes, in the wild, Whirlipede are motionless, while it stores up all the energy it'll need for evolution. Whirlipede protects itself from its enemies with its sturdy shell, and I'd also advise you to keep your hands far away from the shell, because it's covered in poisonous spikes. Since Whirlipede doesn't have arms or legs to protect itself, its poison is the best it's got. When Whirlipede fight, it spins its body like a wheel, and it crashes furiously into its enemies. It runs them over like a tire on a paved road. Even without hands, Whirlipede rarely fall over. They're so quick at rolling that even if one falls over, they can turn themselves into a mini twister and get back up in no time. Whirlipede do have a blind spot, and as you can tell, it's in the middle of their face. Since Whirlipede have this major blind spot and they can't see what's in front of them, they have to rely on both eyes, looking around their surroundings that tell where they are and where they're going. If you look very carefully at Whirlipede, you'll notice it has 4 antennae. This Pokemon also has a really cool ability. There is no set side of which side is the front or the back of Whirlipede. So yeah, these antennae can focus on both sides, and whatever side's the front or the back stays that way for the time being. Whirlipede made its anime debut in the Black and White series episode, battling for the love of bug types under the ownership of Gym Leader Berg. It battled Ash during the gym battle, but it was defeated by his newly evolved Swadloon. On a crazy note, despite this Pokemon rolling over many, as the Pokedex says, Whirlipede cannot learn the moves Rollout and it cannot learn Steamroller. And even with that incredibly fast speed at 60 miles per hour, Whirlipede also cannot learn the move Extreme Speed. Just like with Spinda, Whirlipede has a base stat total that might be based on the fact that Whirlipede and Spinda usually spin in circles, because both these Pokemon have a base stat total of 360, which is pretty funny since these Pokemon do spin 360. Who would have guessed that we finally get a Cocoon that has a serious need for speed? It doesn't just use the move Harden and makes itself hard to hit. It actually fights and wants to roll down its enemies. As fast as Whirlipede is, it becomes even faster. So let's shift into the next gear and maybe puncture the tire and see what's hiding. So let's evolve our Whirlipede into Scolipede. Beware the centipede's rage. Scolipede, the Megapede Pokemon, is based on centipedes and millipedes. However, its horse-like design also draws inspiration from centaurs. For its habitat, Scolipede live in lush forests. They rather like a little chill in the air, and also they really love to take care of the forest, as these Pokemon enjoy the wonderful things life has to offer. They also really enjoy the beauty as well as all the sounds that they hear in nature. Scolipede have a highly aggressive nature, as they have no problem attacking anything that wanders into its area uninvited. Also, some Scolipede can be rather greedy, as some of them claim an entire forest as their own, and anything that tries to fight back immediately is taken down by this Pokemon's colossal and brute strength. The antenna on both Scolipede's head and on the backside picks up lots of vibrations, as well as picks up everything around the area, as they are highly sensitive. They also act as an extra set of eyes. Because of this, it's said that Scolipede has a sixth sense. And no, it does not see dead people. Just like with its previous evolution in Whirlipede, Scolipede are incredibly fast Pokemon. If you enrage it and it chases you down, good luck outrunning it, because you never will. With quick movements, Scolipede chases down its foes and it will never stop. It's said that Scolipede will go on for days without stopping until its enemy either falls or collapses. When Scolipede then sees its foe go down, it attacks relentlessly with its horns until it feels its enemy has endured enough. Because of that brutal nature, Scolipede really like to see their opponents suffer. When it battles, Scolipede slams its enemies into the ground. Just like a pro wrestler, Scolipede uses the pile driver, and then it goes in for the kill by jabbing its foes with its toxic spikes. On Scolipede's neck, it has 8 small toxic claws. It's said that every one of them produces its own toxin, and the lower you go, the more toxic that these little claws will be. They also act as little hands that also allow Scolipede to climb places, and they also might be small, but they can really lift a lot of things, especially when Scolipede goes into battle and picks up heavier foes. Scolipede's aggressive nature makes it a force to be reckoned with, as some Scolipede's anger never subsides, even after it wins a battle. It really needs to take its anger out on its enemy and watch them suffer. As I said, these Pokemon really love seeing their opponents suffer, especially when a Scolipede rips their prey apart and then eats it. When angry or scared, Scolipede will ooze poison all over its body. Also, this poison is what gives it its beautiful shiny red coloring. Just be very careful around Scolipede. Whether you're a trainer or a Pokemon, one bad whiff of this toxic gas can really do a number on your system, and it can even bring down the toughest of opponents. In the Galar region, Scolipede engage in fierce territorial battles against Centiskorch, as these centipede Pokemon are bitter rivals. Oh, and when they fight, these are death battles, because whoever emerges victorious devours the loser. Scolipede made its anime debut in the Black and White series episode, The Bloom is on Axew, where Iris's Axew fell out of a tree and got caught in a wild Scolipede's antenna. This startled Scolipede and caused it to go on a rampage. This wasn't until Iris's Excadrill decided to fight and it defeated Scolipede with Drill Run. In the core series games, Scolipede is the second command of your rival Clara's team in the DLC, The Isle of Armor. But because Clara is a Sword exclusive only, this is the only time it happens in Pokemon Sword. Despite Scolipede having poisonous bites as well as poison spikes all over its body to jab its prey, it cannot learn the moves Poison Fang, Poison Jab, or even Toxic Spikes through level up. It can only learn them through TM. And also, what's even crazier is, with all of that, it cannot learn any of these moves when tutored, nor can it learn them through breeding. In the Unova horoscope, Scolipede represents November. So, for those of you who are born in November, your Unovian spirit Pokemon is Scolipede. When in battle, Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede all have a couple of weaknesses, as almost every Pokemon does. Being that these Pokemon are bug poison type, they're weak to moves that are fire type, psychic type, rock type, and flying type. Not so many weaknesses, that's a good thing. Well, even though we had to see what these Pokemon are weak to, I think that let's come full circle and see what they're strong in battle and check out all of their strengths. When they battle, being that Scolipede, Whirlipede, and Venipede are all bug poison type Pokemon, they have plenty of moves that give them an edge in a battle. Being that they're also poison type Pokemon, they have plenty of moves that are poison type to leave their foes poisoned. But the types that they're super effective on with their poison and bug type moves are none other than Dark type, Grass type, Psychic type, and introduced in Generation 6, all thanks to Professor Sycamore's research, Fairy type. Wow, would you look at that? 4 weaknesses and 4 strengths. Looks like Scolipede, Whirlipede, and Venipede have an even 4-4 break. In the wild, if you happen to catch yourself a wild Venipede, Whirlipede, or Scolipede, they can have either one of 2 abilities, being either Poison Point or Swarm. For Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede with the ability Poison Point, if their attacker makes contact with a physical move, there's a chance they may end up poisoned by their toxic body. So, you don't have to wait around for a poison type move to leave them poisoned. A Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede, on the other hand, with the ability Swarm, are like the starters, because Swarm powers up their bug-type moves when any of these Pokemon have less than 1/3 of their HP, which can really bug out your opponent. And for hidden abilities that were introduced in Generation 5, which is also the same generation Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede all debuted in, they all have the same hidden ability of Speed Boost. Speed Boost raises the speed stat of a Pokemon every single turn. As I said before, these are some centipedes you can't outrun. I'm glad that Scolipede, Whirlipede, and Venipede all debuted in Generation 5, which introduced the most amount of bug-type Pokemon than any other. And for me, Generation 5 introduced some of the most creative bug Pokemon we've ever had yet. And out of all of them, I think that this line is probably the piece La Resistance, because out of everything introduced, there was nothing quite like these incredible poison bugs. I gotta say, this line also makes me think a little bit about Tom Cruise, because Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede have a serious need. The need for speed! That's because every one of them tops the other one in speed, which I find really cool, especially since they're not flying type or even dragon type. They're just simple bug Pokemon that really like to get from place to place quick. In my opinion, out of all Pokemon, bug Pokemon have some of the most creative and amazing evolutions. After all, most bugs go through metamorphosis and go through a huge change from one thing to the others. And Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede are no exception. However, they go down a really cool route. I find it amazing that we start off with a beetle that just curls up into a ball, and then the ball opens up and becomes a centipede. Out of all bug Pokemon that just become different things, this is probably one of the most creative ways I've ever seen evolution for a bug. I find it impressive that this whole line has a rather fast and aggressive nature. I guess you could say it's quick to anger, but at the same time, I think that it's great to finally have some really fast bug Pokemon. After all, bug Pokemon have a lot of weaknesses, and if this line has a lot of speed, that can really give you an edge in a fight. Oh, and who doesn't want to have a really fast bug by your side that can also do a lot of damage to your opponent? There are plenty of trainers out there who love bug Pokemon. Even though bug Pokemon have a lot of weaknesses, I still think of them as a hidden gem, because there are so many out there, and oftentimes they have some of the most creative designs. Unfortunately, there's also trainers out there who are like Misty, that despise bug Pokemon and want nothing to do with them, as they're too creepy and oftentimes lead to nothing but disaster. The same thing can be said about the Venipede, Scolipede, and Whirlipede line. These Pokemon can do a lot of damage, but if you train them right, they can be something of the most unstoppable force out there. A lot of people look at these Pokemon and call them pests, but to me, I think the thing that these Pokemon are best known as are nothing more than creepy crawlies.
Hello, trainer. Welcome back. Sorry, just need a couple Pekka berries to deal with all this poison that I just had in my system. Next time, I'm gonna wear gloves around this line. After all, they have that ability Poison Point and it can really hurt you. But I'm curious to know, what do you think about this line? And I have a few questions for you. Out of all 18 bug-type Pokemon that were introduced in Generation 5, the Unova region, did you catch any of them? And if you did, what was your favorite one that you caught for the journey? Out of all 9 regions we currently have, which one introduced your favorite bug-type Pokemon? And which one introduced your favorite poison-type Pokemon? Also, do you think bug and poison is a great typing combo? In the Pokemon Black and White anime, do you think that Ash should have caught himself a Venipede instead of a Swaddle? Do you think that Scolipede would have been a great bug-type Pokemon for him? Or do you think that Leavanny was the better choice? If Venipede, Whirlipede, and Scolipede had a regional variant, what type do you think it should be? Do you think it should keep its bug typing and maybe gain a dark typing for a poison dark? Or do you think maybe it should be a bug and dark type? While I've never tried, do you think it's possible to play any of the core series games being a bug trainer yourself, catching only bug type Pokemon? And finally, if you could make any bug that's currently alive a Pokemon, what would you make it? What would its typing be? And what would it evolve into? Also, do you think it would be cool if it was one of the starters? Well, trainers, if you liked what you saw, then please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want to answer any of the questions I throw at you, you have an idea that you want turned into a video, you want me to cover another Pokemon line, or there's something Pokemon related that hasn't been much talked about and you want me to talk on, then please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. And please feel free to recommend me to any other trainer out there. As a Pokemon professor, I want to meet as many trainers as there are in the world as possible. Thanks for watching, trainers. Palm out!